Kena koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Hello everyone and welcome to today's Spotlight webinar. Thank you for joining us. My name is Michael Lightfoot and I'm your IT Solutions Specialist here at Spark, and I will be hosting this session today. Before our speakers get into their presentations, I'd just like to go through a bit of webinar housekeeping for you all. You're welcome to send in any questions to Quintin, Maria and Guy during this webinar. Simply type your questions into the question area on the right hand side of your screen and we'll be answering these at the end of the presentation. During this session, we'll also be running a poll, which we will put up partway through, so be sure to jump on and have your say. We will share the results of this poll during the webinar as well. Also to note that this webinar has been recorded and you'll have access to the recording after the webinar has concluded. But now I'd like to welcome today's speaker, Quintin Rolston, Guy Macpherson and Maria McIntyre. First off though, we'll start with Quintin and he'll be kicking us off. Quintin Rolston is the construction manager at Isaac Construction. He's the contractor's representative for the Retail Quarter project in Dunedin. Quintin started with the civil construction industry as an engineer cadet in 2005. Since then, he has completed qualifications in engineering and business and has worked his way from a labourer through supervising engineering and project management roles, through to his current role as construction manager. As the construction manager at Isaac, Quintin leads the construction, maintenance and survey teams based here in Christchurch, as well as the southern construction team based in Dunedin. These teams collectively include approximately 150 staff, from ground-based operatives through to engineers, health and safety and comms leads, project managers and department managers. Quintin, over to you.
Yeah, kia ora team. Thanks for the introduction, Michael. All right, so I'll run through what we're here to talk about today, which is noise and vibration monitoring specific to our project in Dunedin. But first I'll run through a little bit about Isaac Construction, the business and the company, just to give a little bit of context. So Isaac Construction, we're a privately owned construction business based out of Christchurch and Canterbury, now having operations across Marlborough, West Coast and Otago as well. And our work, we specialise in civil construction projects, earth moving, dams, engineering work, structures, etc. We've got three key brands. Simcox is our Marlborough brand, Isaac Construction is our Canterbury and Southern brand, and Liddell Contracting is our West Coast team. And you'll see this pop up a little bit as the Isaac Conservation and Wildlife Trust is our ultimate owner, and I'll talk about that at the end of my presentation a bit more. So we're based in Christchurch. This is a view across our property where our key quarry is at the moment, looking back across Christchurch and over to the Port Hills. So we're situated between the Waimakere River and the airport. Bit of a snapshot of our land there. We've situated 1,100 hectares, like I say, between the Waimakere River and the Christchurch airport. So here's just a bit of a summary of some of our core areas of business: construction, engineering, paving and sealing, so surfacing works for roading. We've got traffic management, laboratories, transport divisions, departments, and we operate across Marlborough and the West Coast, as I mentioned, with Simcox and Liddell Construction, and Isaac Southern and Isaac Southern Quarries is our Dunedin branches, and that's where our project features that I'll talk about soon. Pictures are always helpful to actually visualise what it is that we do and why we might be interested in noise and vibration monitoring. So this is pretty typical of the type of things that we are out there constructing and building: streetscaping works, asphalt paving, paver laying, and general construction, and particularly central city type construction works. Just run through a few examples. I guess Kilmore Street in Christchurch there, outside the town hall. We're into a variety of things, currently building a skate park in Selwyn. Car parking, or in this case A380 parking, is that's a stand that we built at Christchurch International Airport a few years ago for the A380. Quarrying operations, so crushing and turning big stones into small stones. which is pretty interesting, but certainly has a noise, vibration, and dust effect on surrounding community. Isaac Asphalt, a key part of our business here in Canterbury. And just a few more project examples of what we've been building. Christchurch Northern Corridor access into Christchurch on the left there, and a river upgrade project in Dunedin on the right. A bridge construction project on the west coast, which is just coming to completion now. And rock placement and dam construction and earth moving up in Marlborough. So that's a little bit of an overview of the Isaac, Simcox, Liddell businesses and what we do as a company. So I'll move on to our particular project that we're looking at today, which is the Retail Quarter project, George Street upgrade in Dunedin. This is the project area, an overview of the project area. For anyone that knows Dunedin, hopefully we'll have even if you don't know it, hopefully you'll have an idea of the Octagon. Our project starts one block north of the Octagon on George Street and Moray Place intersection, and it travels 800 metres north up to Albany Street, encompassing this central section of this photograph. What we're additionally doing is the fringe works on Fleurill Street and Great King Street, which is not how the project started out, but it's been added to our scope as we've gone through the process. And we're doing pretty substantial 3 waters upgrades across this entire network of site. The Fleurill and Great King Street areas are 3 water upgrades with more traditional streetscape topography replaced on top, so curb and channel asphalt footpaths and generally asphalt pavements. The central spine through George Street and on some of the side streets there is more of a urban city mall environment. I'll show some photos of what we've currently got and what we're looking to achieve soon. That's what it currently looks like along George Street. Pretty typical central city 2-way urban street with relatively little room for pedestrians on the side there where the shops and eateries and that are, and plenty of room for cars, car parking and car travelling. So what are we trying to achieve? This is what we're looking at building. Artist impression, I guess. But what this doesn't show is the substantial 3 waters and infrastructure upgrades that we need to undertake under the surface, which includes full replacement of all the sewer, which is about 4 metres deep, and some pretty challenging ground conditions. We've got some stormwater upgrade works, some pretty substantial stormwater upgrade works of some pretty big diameter pipes, upwards of 1650 in diameter, which just requires large excavations, large deep excavations, potentially sheet piling and shoring and other interventions. Full 3 waters, full potable water upgrade. And this is right across the cross section of the street from the shop frontages right out through the centre of the road across to the other side. So it's pretty invasive sort of work that we're undertaking. So just a bit of a summary of it there. All 3 waters, deep excavations and trenches. We've been using trench shields to date, but there's a potential we'll need to use sheet piling in the future. The roading works are pretty substantial, full reconstructions. So a lot of excavations and dig out and full replacement. So therefore a lot of compaction and a lot of vibration and noise. A lot of streetscape works, paving, new lights and street furniture and decorative footpaths, paved footpaths. And a bit of a summary of cross-section of machinery that we'll be using. So large excavators, hopefully not cranes, but there's potential for cranes, certainly trucking, loaders, heavy compaction equipment. This is just to give a bit of a, I guess, a snapshot of our staging plan for the project. The grey areas, there's three key grey areas there that are what we've largely completed to date, and then the rest colour coded and a bit of a mess, but it's our overlapping plan of how to deliver the works to the current program. So there's quite a few key challenges with undertaking this work. So a few of the key ones I'll run through here is managing interface with stakeholders and shops. This work does go through the key retail offering of Dunedin. There's the only three malls in Dunedin are within our project area. There's a lot of inner city retail and food and beverage offerings, small businesses and small retail shops, as well as big brand shops. So our project is hugely effective, affecting these people, and it's a key thing that we need to try and manage whilst doing some pretty invasive work. So managing the traffic flows, managing access, business disruption, and at the same time trying to complete the works as efficiently as possible and keep on program as much as possible, which is a real challenge. Of course, we have to manage safety, which is paramount of our people and the general public want to complete the works to a high standard. And then the two key ones is managing expectations with regard to noise and managing vibrations. So additional to the retail offering through this area, there's also flats and apartments up on the second and third stories of many of these inner city retail shops. So that's just an added challenge to it. We'll talk about these two mostly today. So managing expectations with regard to noise. Like I say, we've got businesses trying to operate during the day and residents trying to sleep at night. So the noise limit that we have on any of these sites is 85 decibels, and that's what we're tracking against. And then in terms of managing vibrations, there's a number of standards and parameters that we can look at. These are the ones that we've looked at as part of our project. The key one that we'll focus on are these two, so 85 decibels for noise and 3 millimeters per second peak particle velocity for measuring our vibrations. And that's a guideline that's set down for ensuring that we don't damage historic structures, which we do have a number of heritage items within this project and a number of heritage buildings or heritage featured buildings. So that's the limit that we've set for ourselves, and that's what we're tracking against at this stage. This is a panoramic of one of the legs of the work, one of the sites, which is Hanover Street. We've been working in this street since about April this year, and there's a bit of a snapshot. It's a little bit hard to tell, but the excavations and the trench shields that we have in there are down to about 4.4 meters deep, I think it was, through here. So some pretty deep and pretty invasive excavations, and you can see we've got some big machinery, a 14-ton machine, and trucks coming in and out of that site, as well as other smaller machines, smaller loaders, etc. And there's a snapshot of George Street, sort of showing how close our work site is to the shop fronts. And in fact, we'll be going right up to the shop fronts and the boundary line with our new paving when we get to that stage. But it's pretty invasive. This is an overview of location of our noise and vibration monitoring sites. So at the moment, I'll talk through the noise ones, and you can see the noise locations are identified by the little blue disc on the plan there. So we've got a noise monitor at Flull, one on George Street, and 2 down on Frederick Street. And this is a snapshot out of the Adroit software that we use to track and monitor both noise and vibrations. And at a snapshot, it shows us all the noise levels at this particular time when this was taken. So a couple of sites there around 70 to 72 decibels, and a couple there around 60. So certainly tracking below what our max is on this particular time and day. So that's a bit of a snapshot, but we can also get specific details for individual monitors. So again, this is a snapshot of the current noise level at from when the snapshot was taken at 283 Great King Street. It was currently running at 50 decibels, but the graph on the right there gives us the snapshot of the day. So we can see from midnight, it's hovering between 47 and 50 decibels. And then as we've started work shortly after 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., the noise level's risen quite rapidly up to about 80 and then leveled out a little bit, but floating around 60 to 70 decibels. And that's reasonably typical for what we're seeing on many of our sites at our monitoring locations. So that's another snapshot, and then further to that, we can run reports for the last week, the last month, or any time period that we choose just by using the filters and the Adroit software. So this is just a snapshot from that same site, 283 Great King Street, looking at the noise levels over the past week. And that one shows nothing over 70 decibels for that particular time frame, which is generally fine. I've added in another one here, another one of our noise monitors at Farmers Block, which is on George Street itself. Just showing there that these noise readings are getting quite close to our limit, and in fact some of them have eclipsed it on a couple of occasions. So I guess this is the data that we can use to discuss with our client and discuss with stakeholders and look at our work methodologies and noise screening opportunities. Because at the end of the day, we've got to do our work, but we've also got to manage noise and manage the expectations of the stakeholders and residents. This is the kind of report that we can get out of the software. Moving on to vibration monitoring. So it's the same overlay as before, but this one's focusing on vibration locations, and we've got 6 of them set up. But they're locations are shown by the little orange disc there. And what these readouts are showing is the percentage of peak particle velocity that we're reading on each site. So I'll talk about that a bit more in a sec. But focusing just on one of them, 26 Hanover Street. So if you remember back earlier, we've set ourselves a limit of 3 millimeters per second for peak particle velocity in all directions, X, Y, and Z direction, which is what I've highlighted there or circled there. The top left graph, which is a little bit small and hard to see, but shows the actual peak particle velocity reading. So it's well below 3 millimeters per second on this particular day, hovering at more like 0.1, which is pretty low. And what we generally look at is percentage reading towards that peak particle velocity. So I'll go into that in the next one. Going back to that photo from before, this monitoring site is at this site where we were doing these deep excavations. So it just gives a little context on the type of work that we were doing and what these results refer to. So I went back in time and pulled the information from when we started down there on Hanover Street. So it was around the 20th of April, 21st of April, we got the monitors set up. And that first portion of the graph for 4 or 5 days was zero construction activity on site. And you can see it still is reading some movement. And then around the 23rd, 24th of April, you can see the lines start to move a little bit. That coincides with when we started on that work site. I mentioned we're measuring percentage of peak particle velocity, so we're less than 5% of our 3 millimeters per second. So we're well below our limits, which is good. That graph is a little hard to see, so I've just blown it up a little bit there. Same graph as below, but it's a little bit easier to see. There is a bit of a difference when we started work on site. And same thing as the noise monitoring, so we can pluck out a time period. This is looking at a month from when we started on Hanover Street through to 20th of May. So you can see right at the start of that graph, very small movements, and then you can see some movements over time over that month, but well below our limits for vibration. Good data to have, particularly if we have complaints or concerns from business owners, and a particular one down there for us is building owners complaining about cracks or damage that's occurring to their building. So it's pretty good data to have to relay our own and their fears that might be due to our works. But that's the, I guess, the end of the vibration and noise overview for what we're doing here on site. And to wrap up my section, I'll just quickly go through Isaac's and refer back to our Isaac Conservation Wildlife Trust, who we are and what we're about. So founded in 1950 by Sir Neil and Lady Diana Isaac. They were contractors, but also conservationists at heart. They set up the Isaac Conservation Wildlife Trust, which is operating in perpetuity and is the reason for the construction business to exist. We exist to ensure that these people can keep doing their good work. The good work that they do is they are a self-funding charitable trust, and they're established for conservation purposes, based out of Canterbury, but with operations across all of the 4 regions that we're working on. They have 3 key mandates, I guess. First is conservation of native fauna and flora. The second is the conservation of heritage buildings. And the third is conservation education. So we've got the Isaac Conservation Park, where we breed endangered birds. 5 species at the moment of endangered birds, and in partnership with DOC, we release them into the wild. And the team's done some amazing work over the last 25 to 30 years in that space. We also rehabilitate our quarries into wetlands, reserve areas, and breeding facilities for that work to occur. We've created the Isaac the Heritage Park, which again is on site out at McLean's Island Road, Canterbury. And the education is postgraduate scholarships in Lincoln, Otago, and Canterbury universities. So the birds we look after: black stilt, orange-fronted parakeet, blue duck, brown teal, and NZ shore plover. And these have all been critically endangered over the last number of years. Some of them still are pretty critical in terms of their numbers, but without the intervention of the Isaac Conservation Wildlife Trust, some of these species would now be extinct. Sure, and orange-fronted parakeet and black stilt in particular would be extinct for sure without our intervention, which is pretty cool. We've got a heritage village. 16 heritage buildings have been moved and reconstructed to their original features, and a little heritage park out here at Plains Island Road, Canterbury, which is pretty unique. And yeah, a couple of examples there of our quarry rehabilitation, what a quarry can look like 10 to 15 years down the track after you've torn the landscape apart. You can come back to look something pretty spectacular. Yeah, there's a bit of an overview of some of our critically endangered species that we look after. So that's the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening in, and any questions, happy to field afterwards.
Hey, thanks, Quintin. That was really interesting, and thanks for taking us through, I think, the project that you're doing and also the conservation work. But I think the project that you've got over the time of the project for a couple of years, I think it is, you're going to have some really valuable data to, I guess, assess and see how it can be useful moving forward as well. So right now it's time for us to have our poll, put our poll up for everyone to have a look at. So if you head over to the right hand side of your screen, you'll be able to participate. We'll leave it up for probably the next 10 minutes, and then we'll look at the results at the end of the presentation. Just so you know, the question is, what do you need to monitor on your work sites? And there we have noise, dust, vibration, water runoff, other, or don't need to monitor. So we're very keen to get your thoughts. But right now, we're going to hear from the Adroit team around the actual technology that they're using. So I'd like to introduce you to Guy and Maria. Guy Macpherson, he's the General Manager of Adroit. So Guy heads up the Adroit National Sales Team. He's an expert in IT solution knowledge gained from experience implementing successful environmental IT monitoring solutions across the range of industries from agriculture to construction to catchment groups, farmers and primary industry clients as well. And we also have Maria McIntyre. She's the Business Development Manager across the South Island for Adroit. Maria has a background in environmental science, sales and IT industry experience. Maria absolutely loves working with the real-time environmental monitoring space, most of all getting to work with the different industries, with the different offerings Adroit is bringing to the market. She is super passionate about creating positive change through technology. Guy, Maria, over to you to talk around the technology being used.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. And thanks, Quintin. It's been a pleasure working with the Isaac team on that project. So I'm going to give us a bit of an intro into Adroit, what we do and who we are, and then we'll kick off from there. So Adroit are a New Zealand-based company that specialise in real-time environmental monitoring utilizing IoT technology. This is your weather, your soil, your water, and your air. We get best of breed sensors from around the world. We bring them in-house. We integrate them into complete solutions. We have a nationwide service team. They're going to come and install and maintain your solutions. And then the installed solutions are going to send the data to our Adroit platform via the Spark Cat M1 network. We're also working in a range of industries, not just construction. On your screen here, you'll see some beautiful photos. We work heavily in the agriculture industry. So we're installing our big, beautiful data buoys for mussel farms, oyster farms, clients like King Salmon. We're also working heavily in the agriculture and catchment space where we're installing water quality for clients like Intyre. And we're working on manufacturing and work sites where we're installing discharge runoff monitoring for clients like Ravenstown. And then what we're here to talk about today, the construction industry, where we're installing our dust, our noise, our vibration for clients like Isaac Construction.
Awesome. Thanks, Maria. Okay, so we work with a variety of different types of sites. So why do we monitor on work sites? So we work with industrial sites, greenfield sites. We work across civil sites. And they all have different requirements. So it's about understanding, like with the greenfields type sites, you're looking at monitoring on the borders, and this is around your sensitive areas on that border, opposed to a working site like a hospital. So this is where you're monitoring within the actual site. The three areas that we monitor around this are around your compliance. So this is understanding the resource consents, the thresholds for that particular site, and it gives the real-time data through to the site managers so they can manage that site efficiently. The second one is around your complaint mitigation. So this is about being able to bring up your historic data so you can actually see when there is a complaintee, if their site is in breach. Potentially it may not be, so you're able to show the data, say, hey, look, no, it was maybe potentially noisy, but we are well below the, say, 85 dB thresholds. The third one is around your health and safety. So this is where we monitor foundries, we work with crushing plants. So it's understanding what's happening within the hazards on a site, understanding your PPE, when you shouldn't be wearing it on site, and just giving you greater visibility.
Sweet. Awesome. So now I'm going to take us through what our standard setup looks like, what the installation looks like. So on the left, you'll see one of our typical construction site installs. We've got a concrete block. So we're going to install our vibration controller sensor onto that. We've got a post, which we'll install our noise and dust kit onto. And you can add a weather station. It can be powered by solar and mains. Super modular, super easy to install, and super easy to move around the site as needed. And on the right, we have our IoT data controller. So this is the heart of all of our solutions. It has 6 ports, so you can plug in up to 6 sensors. So it's plug and play. You might just want dust, you might just want noise. So it's a super awesome solution altogether. I'll set you back to Guy.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. So what do these look like in real world situations? So I'm going to go through 4 different setups on 4 different sites. The one you've got on the left is one we did with Firth. This is monitoring noise and dust with solar. As you can see here, it's on a fabricated steel pole. So this is made to be fixed, not moved around the plant. The second one is something we did with Dempsey Wood for a civil site. So with civil sites, they're often really big sites with the work slowly working down them. As you'll see on this monitoring station, which is actually doing noise and dust on solar here as well, it's got a base with sandbags in it. This means that this monitoring station can actually be picked up and moved down site. The third one is something we did with precinct properties. So this is using existing structures adjacent to the site. And this is just monitoring noise. So this is with like your inner city type environments when you can install onto structures or existing fixtures. The third one is actually from Isaac Construction for that Dunedin build. As you can see here, it's doing noise and dust again on solar, but it's also doing vibration. This has been installed onto a deadman's block. This is fantastic because it's really robust, but you can actually still move this around site as well. The other deadman's block has got the vibration monitoring on it.
Sweet. So now we have them installed. How are you going to access the data? So the platform can be accessed in two ways. You can download it on your iOS or your Android app, and you can also view it on your browser. So this is what you're looking at here. It's on your browser. So we wanted to get the most engagement as possible from our platform. So on the left, you'll see kind of one of our old type platforms. You're just looking at boxes with the data. And on the right, you see we've relayed a site plan. So a site manager can look at that and say, okay, here's all the sensors, and they can quickly figure out what's happening. They're all in green, which means they're not in breach, so they're within the set threshold. And so our platform, again, we source the best of breed platform, and we didn't build it ourselves. It comes with all the functionalities you need, full visualizations, thresholds, alerts. There's a full set of APIs, so you can plug the data straight into your SCADA or your project delivery apps that a lot of our clients use, and then it can all be downloaded onto a CSV file or your Excel sheet. And if we go to the next slide, it will show us the charts. So this is where you're going to get your deeper insight. We've set a threshold here of 85 dB, which means they've literally only gone above that maybe twice or three times. Super compliant site. It's a great tool when you want to communicate that with your stakeholders, your staff, your board, or any people that are constantly coming on site to communicate. You can say, look, we're doing everything we can. We actually are not in breach, or we are, and we're doing everything we can to deal with it. So yeah, it's an awesome tool, visualization tool.
Fantastic. Okay, so what about the installation, the maintenance, and support of the equipment? We have a nationwide team that manages all of this for you. So one of our project managers will talk through with you. We'll get to understand what the consents are, the actual type of site, look at where's going to be the best place to position a monitoring station. We then look at what's going to be the best way to install, whether it's on a post, whether it's on a wall, whether or not we should organize the deadman's block. We then look after the maintenance. To be honest, all of these types of solutions are very low touch type solutions, so there isn't a lot of maintenance required. And then with any support, we've got phone support as well as our team that can come on site to do any break fixes. Maria.
Sweet, awesome. So as well as our dust or noise or vibration, we also have full range of gases as well. We have other solutions. So we've got a full suite of weather stations. So we're installing a lot of wind speed and direction on civil construction sites to track and trace the dust. And then we also are installing onto cranes for those extreme weather events when you want to claim back on a day's work. We also have our water quality solutions. So we're installing a lot of turbidity and pH monitoring for your discharge runoff. And this is around your sediment and your pH around the concrete. So yeah, if you have any questions on the other solutions, please fire them through.
Cool. And I guess the last thing to mention is that we have a partnership with Spark. It's a reseller agreement. So what that means is then when you do a solution through us, it's charged on your Spark account. We've got finance options available, interest-free options, subscription model. The thing to note, however, through this whole process, it's Adroit staff that will manage you through the process, and we will provide the ongoing support for all of our solutions. And that is us. So we're going to go back to questions with Michael, Maria, and Quintin. So I'll hand it back to Michael.
Hey, thanks very much, guys. That's really interesting information to, I think, share with the people on the group. It's good to see with the technology that it's actually been used down Dunedin, and also what else it can be used for. So it's really now time we'll go through the poll results and also a bit of Q&A. So if we head over to the poll results, looking at that, what do we need to monitor on your work site? I guess the winner, if you call it that, is noise, and then dust, followed down by vibration. Really keen to think from the Adroit team and also from Quintin, what do you think about those results?
2% for don't need to monitor.
You've
Who
got a bit of
said
work
that?
to do, eh?
Absolutely. I think
Yeah,
noise is probably one of the most popular ones that we monitor, actually.
Yeah, noise on a construction site is certainly pretty controversial at times. So vibrations for us is probably more around damage to buildings. So that's where we are really keen on it for Dunedin, because we do have a number of heritage structures, or I think they call it heritage features structures, which aren't actually heritage, but they have heritage features involved in them, and certainly don't want to be damaging or cracking those. So yeah.
Yeah, and we find dust is really important on the civil sites, sort of more when you've got those bigger sites or across quarries, and probably more around the compliance side as well, making sure that they're actually not getting across those thresholds.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks very much, team. So I think now we'll get to some of the questions that have come through, and we can hear from the team and see what their thoughts are. So the first one's is from Brian. Is the noise and vibration data available to the public on an open portal, or is this kept confidential to the contractor and client?
That's something I didn't cover when I was talking about the dashboard, but the data is the clients, and it's the clients alone, and it's absolutely up to them what they choose to do with that data. Again, it has the full set of APIs. So if they want to give that to, for example, Quintin, I believe, are you guys giving it to the council?
We're not currently,
Okay.
and the main reason is we haven't actually had any major concerns. We have had a couple of noise complaints, which we've been working through, but we haven't needed to sort of pull on that data at this stage. So no, we haven't yet. We have talked about it with the client, but they've been okay. So we've got 2 years left to go. Some pretty basic works left to go.
Who knows?
So who knows? Yeah.
Cool. And if I can add to that, with the platform, you can have unlimited users. So when we work with our client, they'll give us through who they want that to be involved, and potentially that may be with some of the stakeholders they've got as well. When we're working with one of Mercury Energy's water sites, where they've got this more available and wanting that data to be publicly available, they've got 200 people in the actual platform all viewing that. And then they've also got the API that they've given out to other people. So we have got a balance. If you want that data to be available publicly, always available, you need to have a website which the API can feed to and make that available.
Great. Thanks. Quintin, I was going to ask too myself, for if there are any of those breaches that you showed around that going over 85%, or the vibrations as well, do you actually have to notify the council, or is it more in case someone complains?
At this stage, we haven't had to notify the council. We have a pretty tight communication loop with them. They are embedded in our site office with their own desks and seats there, so we're talking to them constantly, daily. They have access to that data through some of our team members that are in the office. So I guess if there's ever a concern, they literally swing their chair across the other side of the office and have a look on someone's computer. So
that's great.
We've set up a pretty collaborative environment there, and we haven't had to do that. But certainly, maybe a more traditional project where the client is a bit of a step removed, it would be pretty easy to generate those reports on a weekly or monthly basis and send them through.
Oh, no, great. Now we've got a question from Julian as well. I think one of them's already been asked about the dashboard, but the other one is there any financial consequence for exceeding the noise and vibration parameters?
For us on our project, there's not. We've got a bit of a unique contract type that we've had to set up for that particular project, because there's a raft of changing requirements, stakeholder requirements, and unforeseens that we just can't manage until we get a bit closer to it. So we do have a bit of a unique contract down there with the Dunedin City Council, but it wouldn't be unheard of to have a consequence. And I mean, probably the main one is substantial exceedance of those limits may shut down your site, and that's going to cause you financial penalty straight away. And maybe not paying out money, but being shut down will cost you money. So being able to keep track of it and monitor it as you go through your works is obviously pretty sensible for that reason, if that's a risk to your project.
Great, no, thank you. The next one's from Sid for Maria and Guy. He's asking, have you thought about adding IP video recording to the solution from a joint point of view, i.e. so you can go back over the noise trending and view the associated video?
With all of our solutions, they run on a Cat-M1 network, which is sort of all about sending small packets of data. And I guess we've really concentrated on monitoring water, air, soil, so to speak. Around the camera imaging, there's a lot of, I guess, other people who have specialized in that. And for that reason, we've kind of chosen not to. And I know that a lot of the construction industry already have pre-existing relationships with these sort of, camera companies where you can bring that through. And I'm sure you can meld that information together through that. But at present, no, that's not part of our offering.
Yeah, and I know that we've had internally from an IoT perspective at Spark, we've had those same comments come to us, and we actually do have other partners that, I guess, provide more camera technology that can be overlaid and linked in with the Adroit solution as well. So we can help from a Spark point of view as well for those type of setups and requirements. So just I've got a few more questions here. I think we're still going all right for time. Quintin, are there other parts of the Isaac group looking at the technology for other projects?
Yep, we are, I believe, looking at a solution for some of our quarrying activities currently, led by one of our other managers here at Isaac's, working with Guy and Maria. So, yep, looking at the solutions and how they can help us keep within our consent requirements or manage our stakeholders and neighbours.
Great. Now, I think some just want to also know if, just see, questions come up. I think there was one about the cost. And can you give an indication of the setup of the cost?
Yep, I can do that. So they're modular. I guess we can break them down a little bit in terms of costs. So if you're looking at just, say, dust monitoring, you're looking around the 5 to 6K, depending on solar or AC. If you're looking at full setup, you're looking around the 10K mark. That would be your noise, your dust, your vibration. But again, it's really about understanding the site requirements and then adding on what you need to be doing. With the Isaac Construction site, that was unique because it's spread across such a large area. They needed quite a few monitoring stations. Quite often when we're looking at a greenfield site, you may have, say, 2 borders. You may only have 1 or 2 that you really need to give you the data that's for that particular installation. In terms of ongoing costs, for one of those monitoring stations, you're looking at $35 a month. That includes your connectivity and your platform costs for unlimited users, all the features, the APIs, everything. So everything we've done is to try and create a solution that's built for scale. If we're looking at just vibration monitoring, you're looking at 4K just for the monitoring setup and then $45 a month.
Great, thank you. Well, I think we're pretty much done on the questions, unless anyone's
I've got a question.
Anything else to come through? Yes, you can ask. I'll let you.
So, who's going to win the rugby on Saturday,
Oh,
Maria?
come on, please. Let's be real here. We absolutely will.
I just throw Ireland up behind you. No comment.
Yeah.
It'll be a close one, I reckon.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to ask Quintin if he found any noise complaints with his noise sensors down Queen Street after that game last week.
Oh,
true. Yeah,
I was hoping the team might be able to pull a snapshot out, but I don't think.
Well, to be honest, it was probably quite quiet because you guys lost, and all the Irish were in the pub, so you wouldn't be able to hear them.
Yeah, true.
Thank God.
I just thought I'd like to say thanks to both Quintin, Maria, and Guy for their time today. It's very great to share the insights from what Isaac's doing, also the Adroit side as well. As some of you may be aware, we also have an innovation studio in Auckland, which showcases our IoT and 5G and mobile edge computing and other technologies. If you'd like to come on a tour of the innovation studio, please, we can go to this innovation studio at spark.co.nz and get in touch. So just as we wrap up, I'd like to thank everyone that has joined us online and participated in the questions and also in the poll as well. Remember to check out the website www.spark.co.nz/IoT/webinar to see the other webinars that are coming up and also to register for those. There'll also be a copy of today's webinar up on the website for you to view and share with your colleagues and friends. So thank you for joining us, and from me and the Spark and Innovation team, kia kaha. Thank you.
Awesome.
Cheers,
Thank
guys.
you,
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Good luck on Saturday.